What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC 299. We got Sean O'Malley going against Marlon Vera 2.
I need all the wins, yeah. Other than all that is, you better move, you might get knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
And we are back for another full card breakdown prediction video. This week we are breaking down an absolute stacked card in UFC 299. On paper, this is one of the most stacked cards in a very long time. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are as well. This main card's ridiculous. The Bantamweight Championship, O'Malley Vera is going to be awesome. The co-main event, Benoit Saint-Denis, Dustin Poirier, 5-round fight. We got Michael Venom Page making his debut. We got Jack Della Maddalena versus Gilbert Burns. Petr Yan, Yadong Song to kick off the main card. And then we even have Jailton, Almeida, Curtis Blaydes on the prelims, which just goes to show you how stacked this card actually is. So cannot wait to break it down. Before we do so, if you guys could please do me a couple favors, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already yet. Be on the lookout for more content throughout the week, betting, DraftKings, prize picks, you name it. And then also, this is a pay-per-view card, so going to be bringing back the Significant Strike contest. To enter the contest, first leave a like, second subscribe, and then third comment down how many Significant Strikes you think that Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera are going to combine for. $25 to first place. If you hit it on the dot this week, I'm going to double that to $50. Last time we tried to double it, nobody got it on the dot. We'll see if you guys can get it this week. So yeah, comment down the Significant Strikes for the Sean O'Malley Marlon Vera fight combined. Other than that, be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Now's a great time to sign up. It's early in the month. We have, I think, another 8 fights in a row at this point. Check out the MMA betting tier, which is the most popular tier. $10 a month. With that, you get access to all my stats, first notice, and all bets. I do a prelim, main card, and Hail Mary parlay each week. I do a full card breakdown and best bet article where I break down every single fight. I give my prediction, the round, the method, and then the best bet. And then just more content throughout the week, just extra content. And of course, it is the best way to support me. Another way to support me is by checking out Prize Picks and using that promo code DFSBTN, and you'll get yourself a 100% deposit match up to $100. And I'll also touch on some Prize Picks plays that do stick out this week for UFC 299. And then lastly, I do want to shout out my Instagram, DFS by the Numbers. I'm going to be posting more content there, more video content, predictions, betting content, and just stuff like that. So check out my Instagram, DFS by the Numbers. I hired an editor because I suck at editing, and I'm just doing more content on there. So check that out. All right, I say we get into it, guys. We're going to start with the first fight on the card, and we're going to kick it off with Maryna Moroz, Joanne Wood 2. This is another rematch that we're going to be talking about for this card. We'll start with Maryna Moroz. She is 32 years old, 5'7", with a 67-inch reach, 11-5 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Joanne Wood, she's 38 years old, 5'6", with a 65.5-inch reach, 16-8 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. We have Maryna Moroz opened up -155. She's currently -235. Joanne Wood opened up +135. She's currently +200. So what's interesting about this fight is, like I said, this is a rematch, and it's a rematch from a fight that happened a very long time ago, back in 2015. It was Maryna Moroz's UFC debut, and Joanne Wood was a massive favorite in that fight. I want to say it was something stupid like -700, -800 in that debut, and Maryna Moroz basically kind of pulled guard and then got that armbar from guard in the very first round. So fast forward many years later, they're running it back here, and we have Maryna Moroz this time as a pretty decent sized favorite, and the money's been coming in on Maryna Moroz throughout the last 24 hours or so, making her a -235 favorite. So this is a very interesting fight. You're going to hear a lot this week. The OnlyFans fade. Let's get it out of the way. Maryna Moroz, she has an OnlyFans. People, kind of like that angle. I think honestly, the angle's been working outside of Eileen Perez. Perez has been killing it, but yeah, Moroz has an OnlyFans. So there's the OnlyFans fade on the left-hand side here, and then on the Wood side, you have the retirement fade. I mean, Joanne Wood came out and said that she will be retiring after this fight, which is interesting because I thought she might retire after the Carolina fight. I really did. I thought that Carolina fight was a great time to, hey, go out on a win, retire off of a win, right? But now she's taken on Maryna Moroz in what is for sure, she confirmed her retirement fight. And as we know, when fighters announce it's their retirement fight, it doesn't always work out the best outside of like Robbie Lawler when he knocked out Nico Price. But yeah, other than that, I just think, Joanne Wood, I'm a big fan of her, was a very big fan of her. I like her style. I like the volume she brings to the table. But she doesn't look the same, and she hasn't looked the same, which it's expected, right? She's 38 years old at this point. She's getting up there in age. But yeah, she hasn't looked the same in a while now. She's 1-3 in her last 4 fights. She got subbed by Grasso, club and sub by Santos, lost to Lauren Murphy. She beat Luana Carolina, which doesn't tell me much. So I just think you got 2 fighters where you got Joanne Wood, more than on her way out at this point, and then you got Maryna Moroz, who I think has made improvements. I believe she's training at American Top Team, or at least has been. She's made improvements with her wrestling. Her striking's looked just leaps and bounds better from when she first entered the UFC, and she has that grappling as well, and I think that grappling is going to come into play. Joanne Wood seems to love to get submitted at this point. I think Wood's been submitted like 3 or 4 times, 5. Holy crap, 5 times in her career she's been submitted. Moroz already submitted her. I think Moroz can probably get this fight down to the mat, and when she does, I think it's Moroz all day. I think she opens something up at some point. The problem with laying this price tag on Moroz is, wrestling isn't really something she does all that often. She did it in the Agapova fight, and I would like to see her come into this fight, with that game plan of getting this fight down to the mat, and if she does, I think she taps out Wood quite easy. So give me a Maryna Moroz, and I'll take her to win by second round submission. Moving on, we got Asu Almabaev going against CJ Vergara. We got Almabaev, 30 years old, 5'4", with a 65-inch reach, 18-2 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Vergara, 32 years old, 5'6", with a 68-inch reach, 12-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Almabaev opened up minus 375. He's currently minus 500. CJ Vergara opened up plus 310. He's currently plus 375. Almabaev is the biggest favorite on the card. And, I mean, I like him to win this fight. I don't know about, like, minus 500, but, yeah, Almabaev looked really good in his debut against Ode Osborne, which, it is against Ode Osborne, but still, even outside of that debut, I was impressed with what I saw outside the UFC. This is a guy that his striking action is actually not terrible, but, where he is going to win a lot of his fights is going to be with the grappling. This guy can get takedowns, and when he's on top, what I noticed about him is his control's really good. He's position over submission. He's not going to take chances. I've seen multiple fights where he's content to just go out there and rack up 10-plus minutes of control time en route to a decision. So, yeah, I like Almabaev. I think he's a good fighter. I think he's a smart fighter, and he's going against CJ Vergara, who, yeah, we have seen him taken down. Tatsuro Taira took him down multiple times, submitted him. We saw Kletzen Rodriguez take him down multiple times, get him in some bad spots on the mat. And, yeah, I think Almabaev should have no problem here getting the fight down to the mat, and when he does, I think a submission will potentially open up across 15 minutes. So give me Almabaev here. Almabaev to win this fight by third-round submission. Moving on, we have the most interesting / hilarious fight on the card. I mean, I think this fight could be hilarious. We got Robelis Despaigne going against Josh Parisian. We got Despaigne, who is 35 years old, 6'7", with an 87-inch reach. That is not a typo. He's 4-0 and 4-0 in his only 4 fights. Josh Parisian, 34 years old, 6'4", with a 79-inch reach, 15-7 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Despaigne opened at minus 500. He is currently minus 310. And then we have Josh Parisian. He opened up as a plus 375 underdog. He's currently plus 250. And yeah, this fight is wild. So if you go and tape Despaigne and look into his career, you can finish this guy's fights in less than 5 minutes. I mean, I think his career has lasted about 5 minutes. This is a guy that gets in and gets out. This is a guy that just has, I mean, you don't see 6'7" guys in the UFC outside of like a Stefan Struve, and even Struve I don't think had an 87-inch reach. Like an 87-inch reach is unheard of. You go watch this guy's fights, and this guy's ducking to get into cages. This guy's towering over the cages he's fighting in. And when guys go to take him down and lift him up and try to throw him down, you can't take him down because he's so tall. He just falls against the cage. Like the cage is his takedown defense. This guy is insane. He's fought nobody, though. In terms of his MMA fights, he has fought 4 guys. They have a combined record of 1-0. Before he fought them. So, yeah, level of competition's not great. He finished Miles Banks in 4 seconds. he finished Stevie Payne in 3 seconds. Like, how's that even possible, right? And then he finished somebody in 12 seconds, and then he did get another first-round win as well late in the first round in his MMA debut in Titan FC. So, yeah, this fight is hilarious. Josh Parisian, honestly, I think I've seen like a couple people on Josh Parisian this week, which I think if, Despaigne was fighting anybody other than Josh Parisian, I might think about picking against him, because there's so many question marks with Despaigne. What happens if he gets taken down? What does he look like off his back? What happens if this fight reaches the second round, late first round even? There's so many question marks, but he's going against Josh Parisian, who, is a black belt that doesn't wrestle at all. So even if he does wrestle, is he going to have success? I'm not sure. But, what I feel like Josh Parisian's going to do is I feel like he's going to play the game of Despaigne, which is going to be, come forward, try to strike with this guy. And if he does that, he's getting knocked out in 60 seconds or less. So there's a lot of question marks. This could get sketchy real fast, honestly. Like, if Josh Parisian somehow takes down Despaigne, like, the fight could be over. So... But I will say Despaigne does land a big shot, knocks out Josh Parisian, and I think it literally happens in less than 60 seconds. So give me Despaigne, first round knockout. This fight should be hilarious for as long as it lasts, which I don't think it lasts too long. And then do want to touch on some prize picks here. Despaigne, fight time is set at 4.75 minutes. I don't even think his career's lasted that long. I think this fight ends early. If this fight reaches the second round, he probably loses. And it's probably, I don't know, I don't know what a second round really looks like, to be honest. I think either Despaigne knocks Josh Parisian out in 60 seconds or less. I really think that. Or if Parisian does get on top, I think he can get him out of there as well. So Despaigne, less on the fight time. If you want to check out Prize Picks, go to Prize Picks, use that promo code DFSBTN, and get yourself a 100% deposit match up to $100. All right. Moving on to a fight that we were supposed to see a few months ago, but it's rebooked for this card. We got Ion Cutelaba going against Philipe Lins. We got Cutelaba, 30 years old, 6'1", with a 75-inch reach, 17-9-1, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Philipe Lins, 38 years old, 6'2", with a 78-inch reach, 17-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We just recently got odds on this fight, so let me see. So it's a closely lined fight. It looks like Cutelaba opened up -160. He's currently -130. And then Philipe Lins opened up +140. And he's currently +110. I'm not sure why they took so long to get these odds out, for a couple reasons. For one, I think this fight's been booked for a while now. And then for two, like, these guys have already been scheduled to fight. You would think they would get the lines out, but they just recently did it, like, not too long ago before recording this video. And then what I wrote down when researching this fight is dog or pass. I mean, I don't feel like either of these guys should be favored to win this fight, and that's because I don't trust either one of these guys. Philipe Lins is a guy that I was excited about, when he first came to the UFC. This was a guy that won, $1 million, in PFL. He looked good. He looked great in PFL. But, since arriving to the UFC, those first 3 fights were just terrible. Like, they were awful, Philipe Lins. He went in there against Andrei Arlovsky, looked horrible, didn't throw anything, lost a decision, got knocked out by Tanner Boser, which that's inexcusable. I know it was up at heavyweight, but that is inexcusable. And then he beats Marcin Prachnio in just a sloppy, greasy fight where both guys gassed out. It was a terrible look. But, since that fight, he did knock out OSP in the first round, which, is that saying much? I'm not so sure. And then he beat Maxim Grishin by decision, which, is that saying much? I'm not so sure. So, yeah, I'm just not high on Philipe Lins, or at least I'm a lot lower than I once was on the guy. I'm not sure where this guy's ceiling's at, and he's 38 years old at this point. And then as far as Ion Cutelaba, he has 5 minutes of gas. So, I mean, how can you trust this guy when he's going to gas out after the first 5 minutes? So, yeah, this fight's a mess. I think this is probably the fight I want to stay the furthest away from on this phenomenal UFC 299 card. It's a dog or pass because I feel like, you can't favor any of these guys. It should probably be a pick'em. I'll take Philipe Lins. This is a guy that has shown that he can go 15 minutes, whereas Cutelaba just seems to fall off after the first 5. So give me Philipe Lins. This fight is going to be chaotic, like all Cutelaba fights are, but I'll take Lins here to win this fight and win it by like a greasy decision. Moving on, we got a very fun fight here on the prelims. We got Michel Pereira going against Michal Oleksiejczuk. We got Michel Pereira, 30 years old, 6'1", with a 73-inch reach, 29-11, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Michal Oleksiejczuk, 29 years old, 6 foot, with a 74-inch reach, 19-6, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We have Michel Pereira opening up minus 175, currently minus 150. Michal Oleksiejczuk opening up plus 150. He's currently plus 130. So this is a fight where first look I was thinking, man, Michal Oleksiejczuk has a huge hole in his game. I think we all know that by now. And the huge hole in his game is the takedown defense, is the submission defense. His takedown defense is sitting at 48%. He's been submitted multiple times in the UFC. And I'm thinking, hey, maybe Michel Pereira might go out there and wrestle this guy and potentially even find a sub. You know, Michel Pereira is a black belt in BJJ. And then you look into Michel Pereira, and that's not really his game. You know, he's not really going out there and taking guys down. I mean, he gets some takedowns here or there. He took down Fiallo once. He took down Chaos Williams once or twice, didn't hold him down. He took down Nico Price a couple times. So he'll get a takedown here or there, but that's not really his game, and I'm not sure he has the cardio to go out there and wrestle for 15 minutes either. I think this is a fight that probably does play out on the feet for the majority of the fight. Like Michal Oleksiejczuk, I guess his takedown defense is very poor, but even then it took Kyle Bahayo, multiple takedowns, a ton of control to eventually find a submission. And then it also took Jimmy Crute 8 takedowns to eventually find that submission. I don't think Michel Pereira, has that in his arsenal. I don't think he's going to wrestle, like a Jimmy Crute did, like a Kyle Bahayo did. So yes, he can mix in a takedown or two, but I don't see him holding down Michal Oleksiejczuk if he does get him down. So yeah, this fight takes place on the feet, and on the feet, I think both guys are great strikers. I think both guys have their own style. Michel Pereira is a guy that wants to, a lot of movement, a lot of flashy attacks. He doesn't really do the backflips anymore, doesn't really do the Superman punches, but maybe he'll bring that back here. Can be a little bit low volume at times, Michel Pereira, but his distance management is pretty good. And then you got Michal Oleksiejczuk, the Michel and the Michal is kind of throwing me off here. But yeah, this guy, Oleksiejczuk, he comes forward the entire time. He wants to march you down. He wants to pressure you, and this guy's striking is good. Oleksiejczuk has, great striking, great volume, great power, and the combinations he throws, like the way he mixes it up to the body, he has some of the best body work, honestly, in the UFC, and I think he could potentially give Michel Pereira problems here with that forward pressure, that body work, because Michel Pereira is a guy that does slow down. He slows down in pretty much every single fight, so I feel like it's a close fight. I feel like on the feet it's very close and competitive. I feel like these first, 2 rounds, first round and a half is going to be very split right down the middle, but I feel like as the fight goes on, that pressure is going to get to Michel Pereira. Oleksiejczuk's going to come forward the entire time, and I think he eventually either breaks Pereira or just wins those later rounds and ultimately wins a decision. So I'm going to go Michal Oleksiejczuk to win this fight, win it by decision. I think the body work's going to come into play, the cardio, the volume is all going to come into play, and I think Oleksiejczuk gets the job done by decision. Moving on, we got Kyler Phillips going against Pedro Munhoz. We got Kyler Phillips, 28 years old, 5'7", with a 72-inch reach, 11-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Pedro Munhoz, 37 years old, 5'6", with a 65-inch reach, 20-8, and 1-3 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We have Kyler Phillips opening up minus 200. He's currently minus 250. Pedro Munhoz is opening up plus 170. He's currently plus 210. So yeah, Pedro Munhoz, 37 years old at bantamweight. He's getting up there. And yeah, I think this is a good matchup for Kyler Phillips. Kyler Phillips is a guy that, I really like this guy's style. He's a good grappler, which I don't know if that's going to come into play here, but he's a good striker as well. I love the movement of Kyler Phillips. They call this guy, he calls himself the Matrix, and you can kind of see why, the way this guy moves, very quick, and he has some really sneaky power as well. Love the volume from Kyler Phillips. The only concern with Kyler Phillips would be like the cardio. He does tend to slow down as the fight goes on, and you can see why, with some of the spinning attacks he throws everything into all of his shots. So yeah, he does slow down as the fight goes on, but he's a very good fighter, very good striker, and very well-rounded. And the guy is only 28 years old. I think Kyler Phillips is really good. Like, this guy has a win over Song Yadong, who we'll talk about on the main card. So yeah, and just beat Hani Barcelos as well. So I think Kyler Phillips is on the way up, and I think Pedro Munhoz is kind of on the way down. 1-3 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Since like 2020, I think he's only won 2 fights, the Jimmy Rivera fight and then the Chris Gutierrez fight as well. So, the problem with Pedro Munhoz I have in this matchup is, he's just getting outlanded by everybody. Like even Marlon Vera is outlanding him 141 to 113. He beat Gutierrez, but even Gutierrez outlanded him. Dominic Cruz outlanded him by a ton. Jose Aldo outlanded him by a ton. So yeah, the volume I think is a problem here for Pedro Munhoz, especially in this fight. So yeah, I kind of see Phillips just kind of dancing around him for the first 2 rounds or so. Maybe Phillips does drop that 3rd round, but I like Phillips to do the better work, cross 15 here, win at least those first 2, maybe drop the 3rd and win a 29-28. So give me Phillips to win this fight by decision. And then another prize picks play that did stick out is going to be the Phillips less on the takedowns. They set it at 2, and I was looking through Pedro Munhoz, and the last time somebody took him down more than 2 times was actually, I think it was Damian Stasiak back in 2017. And then other than that, I don't think anybody's ever taken him down. Oh, no, Stasiak only took him down twice. So it was actually Rafael Assunção back in 2014, 10 years ago. And so I think Kyler Phillips gets less than 2. I know Phillips wrestles a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be the game plan there. So check it out, Prize Picks. Promo code DFSB10. I like that look as well for this week. All right. Moving on, we got a lightweight bout. Mateusz Gamrot going against Rafael dos Anjos. We got Gamrot, 33 years old, 5'10", with a 70.5-inch reach, 23-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. RDA, 39 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach, 32-15, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have Gamrot, who I believe is the second biggest favorite on the card, opening at -400, currently -400. RDA opening up +330, currently +330. And yeah, this is a spot where I do like Gamrot here. I do think it's a good matchup for him. RDA is getting up there now. 39 years old. With that said, though, he's still competing at a very high level. He's still competitive in a lot of these fights, but 39 years old, it is definitely getting up there. Gamrot, not the youngest guy in his own right, but he is 33. He's going to be 6 years younger. And I just feel like Gamrot can come in here and pose some problems with the wrestling. And the wrestling is kind of what RDA has struggled with in the past. With that said, a lot of those fights were at welterweight where, much bigger guys were taking him down. But even in his last fight against Vicente Luque, of all people, was able to push RDA against the cage and take him down 8 times, which was a really big surprise. So, if Luque's taking you down 8 times, Gamrot probably takes you down 8 times as well. Gamrot's a guy that will go out there and shoot 10, 15 to 20 to 25 takedowns if he needs to. He has the cardio to do it. It's a 3-round fight. I think the striking, probably competitive. I like both guys striking. I like Gamrot striking as well. But yeah, I think where this fight is won or lost is going to be with the wrestling of Gamrot. Gamrot's a guy that doesn't have the best control, but he can definitely mix in takedowns here. I don't see him, holding down RDA for long periods of time. But if the striking is close and competitive, I think Gamrot just mixing in, a couple takedowns per round should seal him off. Should seal off a round each round. So I'm going Gamrot here. Gamrot to win this fight by decision. Moving on, we got Maycee Barber going against Katlyn Chookagian. And I know Chookagian just got married. What's her name now? Sarah Marinara? Katlyn Marinara? Sarah Manara, I think. But yeah, we'll call her Chookagian because it's freaking confusing. But we got Maycee Barber going against Katlyn Chookagian. We got Maycee Barber, 25 years old, 5'5" with a 65-inch reach, 13-2, and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Katlyn Chookagian, she's 35 years old, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach, 18-5, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Maycee Barber opened up -190. She's currently -220. Katlyn Chookagian opened up +165. She's currently +185. I like Maycee Barber to win this fight. I think she's obviously the younger fighter by 10 years. She's the more physical fighter. She's the harder hitter. And we've seen, and I think this is a big point to mention, fights nowadays, in 2024, they are heavily scoring fights based off of damage, which, that's what they should be doing, right? That's what they always have. That's the criteria, damage is number one, right? But they're really putting an emphasis on it. They're really putting a focus on it. So in a fight where The striking numbers are probably similar in terms of the significant strikes either side. It's going to be Maycee Barber, who has power where Chookagian has zero power at all. You know, Chookagian has 0 finishes in the UFC. Chookagian has like 2 finishes in 23 fights. So all the power, all the big shots are coming from the Maycee Barber side. And I think that wins her the fight. I think that should be enough to win her the fight, those big shots. I think Maycee Barber can also maybe win some minutes against the cage, maybe get takedowns here as well. But I think the power of Maycee Barber is going to be the difference here. But this fight's terrifying though. I mean, just because this fight is going to decision like most Katlyn Chookagian fights do. And Chookagian's a fighter who just, I want to say weasels her way to a lot of these wins. Like there's a ton, like a list of fights that Katlyn Chookagian won where I'm like, no, she didn't. What are you watching? Like, what are you blind judges watching? She has like a 34% striking accuracy, which I think is like the worst striking accuracy, second worst, my bad, on the card behind Maryna Moroz. Like she's missing a lot of shots, but what Katlyn Chookagian's doing is those tennis sounds, right? She's making a lot of sounds. So, I think the blind judges are listening to those sounds and maybe they're getting swung one way or another. Like, I don't know, but she's missing a lot of these strikes. With that said, Maycee Barber, she does some missing in her own right. So I'm not sure why Maycee Barber's minus 220. Like, this fight's going to be a split decision, because even if Maycee Barber does win, at least one of the judges are going to F it up. So, like they do for most Katlyn Chookagian fights. So I'm taking Barber. I think she does win, but the judges scare the crap out of me on this one. Moving on to the featured prelim. And what a featured prelim this is. I mean, it's a big step up from last week's featured prelim. Last week, they were featuring Eric Anders and Jamie Pickett for some reason. This week, it's an actual featured prelim where they're featuring a very good fight in Jailton Almeida going against Curtis Blaydes. One of the most highly debated fights of the week. We'll start with Jailton Almeida, who is 32 years old, 6'3" with a 79-inch reach, 20-2. And 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Curtis Blaydes, 33 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, 17-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We got Jailton Almeida, who opened up minus 200, currently a pick, a minus 110. Blaydes opened up plus 160, currently a pick, a minus 110. Yeah, this is one of those fights, and there's a couple fights on this card, on this main card, where people are very split on both sides. I've seen people max betting Curtis Blaydes. I've seen people max betting Jailton Almeida. So somebody's going to be right here. And the way I look at this fight is, it's such an intriguing fight because Curtis Blaydes, I think he has a lot of ways to win, but my concern, and it's a major concern with Curtis Blaydes, is what the heck happens if Jailton Almeida takes down Curtis Blaydes, which that really shouldn't shock anybody if that happens, because Jailton Almeida, is he a small heavyweight? Yes, but he's going out there and lifting up 265-pound men and Derek Lewis and Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Parker Porter like it's nothing. This guy is so physically strong, it's incredible. Like, it shouldn't shock anybody if Jailton Almeida gets on top of Curtis Blaydes in the first 20 seconds. And if he gets on top of Curtis Blaydes in those first 20 seconds, what does Curtis Blaydes look like off his back? The answer to that is we literally don't know, because nobody has tried to take down Curtis Blaydes outside of, like, Cody East, like in 2016. Alexander Volkov, I think, took him down, but outside of that, he's fighting a lot of strikers, right? So, yeah, I kind of feel like, could Blaydes stuff the takedowns and knock Almeida out and make it look easy? Potentially. I just have a feeling he doesn't. I have a feeling Almeida gets the takedown, and once he does, Jailton's going to have a significant grappling advantage. Jailton's a very good grappler. I know there's a lot of hate on Jailton for the Derek Lewis fight. I get it. It was a bad look. I lost money on it too, but every fight before that, this guy has shown ground and pound. So that Lewis fight was weird. It's like a one-off, because Almeida's shown a great submission game. He's shown great ground and pound. He has multiple finishes. So I think if he gets on Curtis Blaydes here, it's gonna be big trouble for Curtis Blaydes. And I see Almeida finishing Blaydes in the first round by submission. So this could look bad. If it turns out Blaydes is able to stuff the takedowns, if it turns out Blaydes' defensive wrestling is really good, and he's able to keep it upright, he's going to smoke Almeida. It's just, I feel like Almeida does get this fight down to the mat, and once he does, I think it's probably a wrap. So give me Almeida to win by first round submission. All right, moving on to this main card, phenomenal main card. We're kicking it off with a phenomenal main card opener. We got Petr Yan going against Yadong. We got Pereira, 31 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach, 16-5 and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. We got Yadong, 26 years old, 5'8" with a 67-inch reach, 21-7 and 1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Jan opened up -115, currently -120. Yadong opened up -105, currently +100. And it's crazy with Pereira, man. I mean, this was a guy that was on top of the world. This was a guy that, people were saying was one of the best fighters pound for pound in the UFC, and all of a sudden he's 1-4 in his last 5 fights. And it all started with that Aljamain Sterling fight, the title fight, right, where he was on his way to winning that fight, on his way to potentially even finishing Sterling down the stretch, and then had that illegal knee. He bounces back, though. He beats Corey Sandhagen in a competitive fight, and then he loses to Aljamain Sterling in the rematch by decision, split decision. And then he loses to Sean O'Malley by decision, split decision. And then he just gets dusted by Merab Dvalishvili. The fight wasn't even close. And the O'Malley fight was close, the Sterling fight was close, but that Merab fight was not close whatsoever. This is a matchup where, I think the line's about accurate in terms of this is a very close fight. I think both guys are very good strikers. I think Petr Yan's a very good striker as well. I love the volume, the boxing of Petr Yan. He has a ton of power, but Song Yadong has a ton of power as well, probably even more power than Petr Yan. Song Yadong hits like a truck for the bantamweight division. In terms of the wrestling, I'm not sure. Song Yadong did show some wrestling against Chris Gutierrez, but that's not really his game. He's not going to come out here like Merab and shoot 59 takedowns, so I don't think Jan's going to have to be as worried about the takedowns coming Song Yadong's way. If anything, maybe it's Petr Yan going for takedowns here, mixing it up a little bit. Yeah, this fight's razor thin. I think it can go either way. It's hard to have any faith in Petr Yan at this point, but this could be a buy low spot for him. Petr Yan, at the end of the day, I don't think he's washed. He's only 31 years old. I just think he ran into Merab Dvalishvili, and I think Merab would do the exact same thing to Song. So I'm going to take Petr Yan. It's hard to have a ton of confidence in the guy that just seems, I don't know if he seems off or he's having trouble winning fights, but he is fighting some of the best fighters in the division for what it's worth. I'm going to take Petr Yan here. I'll take him to win this fight by decision. Moving on to the next fight, this is probably my third, I think maybe my second favorite fight on the card. This fight's phenomenal. We got Jack Della Maddalena going against Gilbert Burns. We got Jack Della, 27 years old, 5'11", with a 73-inch reach, 16-2 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Gilbert Burns, 37 years old, 5'10", with a 71-inch reach, 22-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds we have. Jack Della opened up -105, currently -155. Burns opened up -115, currently +135. And yeah, I think this fight probably should be a pick'em because you can make a strong case for either guy, right? Like Jack Della Maddalena, incredible fighter. He's 10 years younger. The striking's phenomenal. The combinations, the power, the precisions, the body work as well. Jack Della is a really good fighter, but and you go and watch Jack's fights, he's putting himself into bad spots in the majority of his fights. Like, he's putting himself into deep submissions in a lot of his fights, and that's terrifying when you're considering he's going against Gilbert Burns, who's going to be the best grappler he's fought in a mile. So, Jack Della, he's undefeated in the UFC, but I feel like the hype's really died down. Like, people don't give a crap about this guy anymore, right? He was on top of the world after that Randy Brown fight, but he lost all the hype after beating Basil Hafez, right? Which, was it a bad look? Yes, it was a very bad look, and I think he lost a lot of hype there, and then there was the Kevin Holland split decision. So yeah, back-to-back split decision wins. I don't think people are as excited, on Jack Della as they once were. But yeah, that Hafez fight was a bad look. He jumped guillotine like 4 or 5 times. Made a ton of mistakes, but he's not jumping guillotine here against Gilbert Burns. The Holland fight, it is what it is. Holland could have even potentially won that fight. So yeah, not the best look as well. But yeah, Jack Della, I think in this fight, he's going to absolutely have to keep this fight standing. And if he does get taken down, he's going to have to, stay safe on the mat. And if he does get himself into a bad spot, maybe Burns is able to submit him. But, Burns is coming back after, I think, a 9 or 10 month layoff. He's coming back after an injury. He's now 37 years old at this point. I've questioned the chin for a while now of Gilbert Burns. And, Jack Della has crazy body work, a ton of power. If Jack Della can keep this standing, I think he does get the knockout. And that's kind of where I'm leaning. But if Burns does get this fight down on the mat, he could potentially sub Jack is the thing. So it's a fight that I think can go either way. I don't have a strong take on it, but I'll say Jack does either defend the takedowns or survives the grappling exchanges, and then once it's on the feet, I think Jack can really put it on Burns and finish him in that second round. So I'm going Jack Della Maddalena. I'm going Jack Della Maddalena by second round knockout. Moving on, we got Kevin Holland going against Michael Venom Page. We got Kevin Holland, 31 years old, 6'3" with an 81-inch reach, 25-10, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Michael Venom Page, 36 years old, 6'3" with a 79-inch reach, 21-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We have Kevin Holland open at -135, currently -130. Michael Page opening up +115, currently +110. And yeah, there's a lot of fights on this card where I think are very close, I think are very competitive. We talked about a bunch of them already, and this is one of them. Like, this is a fight that I think does go 15 minutes. The odds do indicate it, that it is probably going to go 15 minutes. And if you're on the Holland side and thinking he's going to grapple, you're thinking he's going to wrestle, just don't think that. I mean, Kevin Holland has some of the worst fight IQ, and you know what? He has the worst fight IQ I've ever seen. I'll never forget the Stephen Thompson fight where he literally had Thompson on his back. He was on top of Thompson, and he basically like helped him up in a fight where he was, getting, battered on the feet. I mean, it was incredible. Holland's not grappling here. Should he? Yes, he should. Of course he should. This guy's a BJJ black belt, very good grappler. It's just, is he going to? No, he's not. He's not going to. It's not happening. So I think we get a fight that does take place on the feet. And at that point, I think it's a close fight. I think it's a really close fight here. I really was impressed with the striking of Michael Page. I know he's 36 years old, but he's a very good striker, very long, very rangy, as is Kevin Holland. But yeah, this guy's striking is incredible. I'm really looking forward to the debut of Michael Page and seeing what he can do in the UFC. Ultimately, I think this fight, like I said, I think it goes 15 minutes. I think you cannot trust Kevin Holland to fight smart. I think this fight does stay standing. I think it's probably even like a split decision type fight where it's just very close. So I'm going to go with the dog here in Michael Page. Don't have a ton of confidence. I think it's close. I think it goes to decision. I think the judges probably get it wrong anyway, but I'll take Page here to win a close decision in what should be an interesting fight. Not my favorite card in the main card, but I am somewhat looking forward to it. So I'll take Page here. I'll take Page to win this fight by decision. All right, and I'm really looking forward to this co-main event. We got Benoit Saint-Denis going against Dustin Poirier. We got Benoit Saint-Denis, 28 years old, 5'11", with a 73-inch reach, 13-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Dustin Poirier, 35 years old, 5'9", with a 73-inch reach, 29-8, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have Benoit Saint-Denis opening up -150, currently -225. Dustin Poirier opening up +130, currently +190. These odds are shocking. These odds are absolutely shocking to me. I know people that are going to say, like somebody already said on Twitter, like Benoit Saint-Denis should be -1,000. No, he shouldn't. These odds are shocking to me. I think these odds are very disrespectful. But I also think these odds are a trap. I think people are going to be lured into betting on Dustin Poirier, and I can't get there. I can't pick against Benoit Saint-Denis in this matchup. If this fight was even like a year or two ago, I'm all over Poirier here. I'm all over him. But Dustin's 35 years old at this point. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He's been in the UFC since like 2011, 2012. There aren't many fighters currently on the roster that's been fighting in the UFC for this long. And, how many wars has Dustin Poirier been in? A ton of wars. He has things going on outside the cage. He has that hot sauce business, making a ton of money on that. I was at Walmart the other day. He's selling his hot sauce for $10 a bottle. So, I don't know. He's taking a ton of damage. The durability could be an issue. The takedown defense could be an issue. The grappling could be an issue here. I feel like these fighters are just two different trajectories at this point of their careers, right? Like Dustin Poirier taking big money fight. I mean, he's making a ton of money for this fight. 5 rounds. He had that fight with Justin Gaethje. He's taking big, fun fights. The Conor McGregor fights. He's making a ton of money. And then you got Benoit Saint-Denis, who's just so much younger, so much hungrier. He's got that dog in him. Both guys have that dog in him, but Benoit Saint-Denis especially has that dog in him. I think he has some of the most dog I've seen in the UFC. This is going to be a war. This is going to be a car crash like all Benoit Saint-Denis fights are. I just feel like at this point, Benoit Saint-Denis is the more durable fighter. I feel like at this point, Benoit Saint-Denis has the grappling upside here. Like, if he gets Dustin Poirier down, I know it was Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira, which are obviously very good fighters, very proven fighters, but if he gets, Dustin Poirier down like Michael Chandler did, like, he's probably subbing Dustin Poirier. And even on the feet, you have to favor the striking of Dustin Poirier, and it's not close, but Benoit Saint-Denis is tough. He'll eat one to give one. He'll throw down. He doesn't care if you hit him in the face because he'll hit you back even harder. So I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis. I think these odds are crazy, though. Like, I think Dustin Poirier's getting counted out way too much, but I just can't pick against Benoit Saint-Denis at this point. So I'm taking Benoit Saint-Denis. I think he gets this fight down to the mat eventually, whether it's a club and sub, whether he does, take down Poirier, and I think he takes his back, and I think he subs him in the second round. So give me Benoit Saint-Denis to win this fight by second round submission. All right, next we have the main event. I did do a main event breakdown if you want to check it out on the channel. Also, don't forget, guys, to comment down the significant strikes. $25 to first. If you get it on the dot this week, I'm doubling that to $50. If there's a tiebreaker, the tiebreaker does go to the person that commented first. So comment down those strikes. All right, Sean O'Malley going against Marlon Vera. We got Sean O'Malley, 29 years old, 5'11", with a 72-inch reach, 17-1. And 4-0-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Marlon Vera, 31 years old, 5'8", with a 70.5-inch reach, 23-8-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Sean O'Malley opened at -220, currently -285. Marlon Vera opened at +185. He's currently +245. These odds are crazy. I mean, these odds are, they just don't make sense to me. Early on, I like Sean. I think I still like Sean O'Malley to win this fight. It's just I am not feeling the greatest about it, to be honest. The more the week has went on, and I know it's only like Monday, but I've got my research done, the last several days. The more I've sat and thought about this fight, the more I see it playing out, the more I worry. Like Sean O'Malley, we saw their first fight, right? Like Sean O'Malley was getting the better of the striking exchanges, but rightfully so. Marlon Vera in that first round typically takes it off. He loses a lot of first rounds. Sean O'Malley's never seen a 5th round, never seen a 4th round. If this fight gets extended, it could get interesting. I think it does get extended, but I think Sean O'Malley's the much better striker here. Sean O'Malley, long range guy, ton of volume, more volume than Marlon Vera. He's more accurate than Marlon Vera. He's more defensively sound than Marlon Vera. But Marlon Vera's a dog. Marlon Vera's a guy that does take a while to get going, but in that second, that third round, he just keeps picking it up, and I worry about what this fight looks like when it is in the 4th and 5th round. But up until then, I think it's Sean O'Malley that's just going to be picking apart Marlon Vera. I think he's going to be making it look pretty easy. And you look at a lot of Marlon Vera fights, he's getting outlanded by a lot of guys. Rob Font outlanded him like 200 and something stupid, like 271 to like 170. But Marlon Vera won that fight pretty much every round just because he was hurting Rob Font. He was dropping him. Even Frankie Edgar outlanded Marlon Vera. Dominic Cruz outlanded Marlon Vera. But Marlon Vera is so reliant on these big shots, these big strikes, these knockdowns, these knockouts. So I think for Vera to win, he's going to have to knock out Sean O'Malley. I don't see Marlon Vera winning a decision. And although it's possible, I don't know. I feel like Sean O'Malley does do enough across 25 minutes here. I think he absolutely wins the first round. That's a given because Marlon Vera takes it off. And Marlon Vera might even take off the second round. Like, Marlon Vera is such a slow starter to his own detriment. In the Corey Sandhagen fight, he took all 5 rounds off, so you never know. So I'm taking O'Malley here by decision. I don't feel great about it, to be honest. I have a weird feeling in the back of my head that this might get very sketchy very, very quickly, if it gets to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, which I think it does. So I'm taking O'Malley, sticking with O'Malley by decision, but I'm interested to see this fight. I mean, this fight's a very fun fight. I'm really looking forward to it. My favorite fight on the card is probably the Benoit Saint-Denis Dustin Poirier fight, but yeah, this main event's phenomenal as well. So going Sean O'Malley by decision. There you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Comment down those significant strikes. Check out Prize Picks, promo code DFSBTN, and then check out DFSbythenumbers.com. pretty much all content will be out hopefully by Wednesday. My full card best bet article, working on that now, 14 fights to work with. So yeah, check it out. Going to be adding some bets throughout the week as well once these props start to drop. Looking at a couple money lines also. So yeah, looking forward to the card. Best of luck, everybody, and we'll talk to you guys very soon. See you later.